this is Oldecam.
And Notaspringchick, and we're talking about Blu-ray.
Blu-ray, yes. Blu-ray, basically it's listed as the hope of the future for the DVD industry.
Well, Sony bet the bank on this one.
$3 billion they've lost so far, and they're hoping that they'll be able to sell enough. Okay, the hardware sells is not where Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony make their money. It's in the software sells.
That's right, because when Xbox just came out, I remember Xbox 3, Microsoft was losing $100 for every console that they sold. But just like printers where they made all the money off the ink, they made all the money for the Xbox, the peripherals, software.
That's like you'll see Guitar Hero 1, Gods of War 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until they quit selling those films. That's the big business. But Sony is banking that Blu-ray is going to be an unbelievable seller among people. But the problem is like we've discussed before, how many times have we been to an event where they've repackaged Star Trek?
All the time.
That's right. I mean,
if it sells, keep selling it.
We've asked Mr. Shatner, how many stories, and I love this one, how many stories can you continually remember about your experiences with Star Trek? And he says, as many as I can make up. The man is honest. That was a good statement. But we have, like we were talking before, I have seen, right now, they're plugging the fact that Independence Day, which is it's running 24 hours a day all over the place on cable. Probably you know everything about. Actually, you probably don't know everything you know about it, but it's.
But just in case you didn't.
No, they're giving. We've had the release version, which is the entire screen being filled up. Then we have the HD version, which is letterbox. We have the director's cut. We have the cut where they're explaining how the movie was made. We have the cut where they're making it look like what might happen if something, a news broadcast, that makes it look what happened. I like this one. They took when they were doing the video of they were filming video of Independence Day, so they could see how everything worked before they, without having to see the process film. And so they've got this video of the car crashes, of people giving interviews, and they've made it look like it's a news broadcast. But that's part of what you're going to be seeing on Blu-ray.
Well, and part of it is just because a movie's available on Blu-ray does not mean it was shot in high definition either. Because they've been doing that with some of the older movies.
That's right.
Exactly what happens with that?
Basically what they have to do, here is where you have a problem with the actors, that the actors have legitimate grievance. They're basically reshooting the entire picture on a high definition camera, frame for frame, in order to give it that high def look. It is still not a high def picture, no matter what they say.
Oh.
Because the high def camera, okay, this is a high def camera. You don't actually get to see it at its best because we have to, in order to put it on, we have to compress it down into what you see the letterboxing, which all of the people that we across the board really hate the letterboxing. They don't like it, but we handle that. But the actors are not being paid for that movie being made again, so they're really pissed about that too. But it is an expensive process, which is once again why Blu-ray costs so much money. And Blu-ray. Okay, I mean, we went to a thing, and we had a well-known filmmaker talking to Mr. Ray Harryhouse, and he hated Blu-ray with a passion.
Well, it's just Blu-ray; it's high definition.
High definition, but he had a Blu-ray system, and he said, the high def makes everything that was shot before look so crappy.
Well, and see, that's part of the challenge with the older movies, is because when they reshoot it, so sometimes you might see the wires if they didn't catch it.
Well, I mean, okay, folks, I know, you're going to love this one. One of Leonard Nimoy's early Rocket Men from the Moon serial with Commando Cody is being produced for Blu-ray. They only have a minor problem, is that all of the wires that they used to hold the guys up with show plain.
Wait, they didn't get that out?
They can't, because it would be cost prohibitive to go back. It's why.
See, that's part of the challenge with the high definition, whether it's Blu-ray or well, would have been HD.
In it, they've got all. Okay, you have beta versions of Raider Men from the Moon. you have VHS versions, you have multiple DVD versions. All of those versions are actually better than the high def version. So why would you want to go spend money for something that basically
destroys your to represent the consumer. We survey about 250,000 of them a year on all of these topics, and one of the things we know about the consumer is that it's very hard to motivate them to change. You know, that's what all of your businesses are about, is trying to get them to change, either from one competitor to another, or from one product to another. And getting people to go from DVD to Blu-ray will happen. I agree with that. The challenge is, how do you make them feel the need to do it soon rather than later? And that I would put out there as the challenge, because from their perspective, they're going to see Blu-ray as, oh, it's just DVD plus. And they're probably right, at least for the next little while, until BD Live, the Profile 2.0 version of Blu-ray, becomes a more common standard, and more titles are being developed with these advanced features. So it's going to be hard to convince them that it's time to change. To me, the optimism that we all share up here is really only justified if we see the industry coming together to create a channel environment of stores, distributors, retailers, CD makers, who are all creating one voice, Blu-ray. And that will cause people to realize, oh, that's the way of the future, that's what I have to do, and they'll do it sooner rather than later. So.
Right, you know, and that brings me up to my next question. You know, I think we all agree that, you know, Blu-ray is inevitable. We just want it to be, you know, fast and get things going. And one of the big buzzwords of this whole year has been, you know, our big task is managing the transition. Well, managing the transition, you know, I'm picturing, you know, Mike pulling up in a minivan, a bunch of consumers going to a store, here's a Blu-ray. No, not the up converter, get that Blu-ray. You know, but how do we do that? How do we manage the transition? How do we get the consumer to recognize the values of Blu-ray? Mike?
Well, there's a lot of features in Blu-ray, and it's only going to get more exciting. And one of the things we found with the consumer is they're slowly but surely becoming HD snobs. That once they get used to watching their sports and their television programming in HD, it's very difficult for them to go back to a standard def. And they're the first to, you know, change over. The second thing is that you have word of mouth, which is the strongest, you know, recommendation you can get. And as the player availability starts to, you know, expand, I have another slide here if they can drop that on. You'll see that the word of mouth will take off. And then to Jim's point, where it's one voice, the studios and Panasonic and Sony hardware, we've been in Philips, we've been together, and we've tried to speak from one voice with a campaign, like a Got Milk campaign. Last fourth quarter, I think we spent like $25 million against it, you know, promoting Blu-ray. This year we'll spend, you know, another significant campaign that'll launch in September or October, and it'll have that one voice that lays out the message, and the message is pretty simple. You know, it's the best entertainment viewing experience you can have, and it also plays your DVDs. And when you tell the consumer that simple message, they buy in. The purchase intent is off the chart, right? And this chart right here shows hardware on the top and software on the bottom, and it lays it up against DVD. So you can see on top on the hardware in 1997, which was, you know, the first real year of DVD, and against the BD-CE players and the PS3, which is BD compatible. And one of the interesting things you're seeing right now is almost 80% of the software sold is based on a PlayStation console. And, you know, that group is not the heaviest tie rate you're going to find. You know, a BD console probably has a tie rate of 15 discs per year and above, way above for some. And a PS3 has like a half to a 1.5 tie rate. So as the BD consoles start to roll out, you're going to see a huge uptake, I believe, in software. And this is the software down there. And I believe by 2008, we're going to be very close to $1 billion in software sales.